afternoon and welcome to your 4 to 5. I'm Maddie Gardner here with Taheshah Moist and Christian Morgan this afternoon. Of course, we are a show where we want to communicate with you. This is not a one-way street. We want to hear what you have to say as well. That's why we are live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Join our conversation by using our hashtag 4 to 5. The U.S. Geological Survey reports 5 aftershocks since yesterday's earthquake in Sparta. 2 tremors happened yesterday after the 5.1 magnitude quake, and then 3 more shook the area this morning. All 5 happened near the earthquake's epicenter in Alleghany County, but tremors were felt all over the East Coast, even here in the Triad. Mayor Wes Brinegar says 3 or 4 homes could be a total loss, while others have minor damage. Mayor Brinegar says the town in Sparta is working to repair some water leaks, but no one lost power or water. But check out this video from a house in Wilkes County. You can see the surveillance camera is shaking, and that green box that you see on the screen is the camera trying to identify what's causing the movement. Of course, it is not able to. People felt this earthquake as far as Virginia, even Ohio. This image you're looking at right now is out of Sparta, a crack in the road there that split from shoulder to shoulder. Now, you sent in your photos of damage and videos of the earthquake, and we want you to keep sharing those with us. Tell us where you were and what you were doing when you felt the earthquake. You can send those videos and photos to 336-379-5775. Make sure you leave your name and where you're from in the message. By the way, if you need more information on the earthquake, you can also text the word earthquake to that same number. All right, guys, so I slept through the whole thing. I'll talk about this later in the show, but I was a little disappointed because I felt like I was left out of this whole experience. Christian, though, social media blowing up about this. I mean, this was no joke.
No, I'll tell you what, I actually didn't feel it yesterday either. I was actually driving at the time it happened. And if you were driving, but a lot of your friends felt it, well, that's probably why you can't feel them as much if you're in the car. So I got out of the car and then checked my phone, of course. And like you said, social media was just blowing up and people were asking, pretty much the same question. Was it an earthquake? And I know a lot of people initially thought it may have been just a truck passing by, or even some folks reached out to me and said they thought it maybe a plane had crashed. But it seemed like the general consensus was there an earthquake, which means there probably was. And it only took about 20 minutes for us to get the official report in from the USGS. So it was confirmed an earthquake for sure.
Yeah, 5.1 magnitude. That's big for our area. I believe the largest in about a century.
Yeah, the largest in about 100 years.
Wow,
typically people think of earthquakes.
A piece of history.
Taheshah said she's missing out on history here. Don't feel bad because I slept through it.
Well, you were at least present in the state. I missed it. You talk about fear of missing out. That's how I feel on this Monday.
Yeah, well, the good news.
But, I'm glad to see that there weren't any major, I was just going to say there weren't any major injuries to people. So that's the good news here.
Yes, absolutely. No reports of any injury, just that damage that we showed you video of in Sparta. Well, back here at home in the Triad, North Carolina, A&T students are sounding off on social media after a group of students reportedly broke campus social distancing guidelines during a gathering. WFMY News 2's Grace Holland spoke to university leaders who want to keep that from happening again. Grace?
NCA&T is reminding students to continue to social distance and keep those masks on after a gathering of freshmen in this part of campus last night. Now, this tweet shows a picture of that gathering. It's been making the round since about 10 p.m. last night. It shows students standing very close together. The student body president told me this is a student tradition to meet at the clock tower on the first night of move-in. It's a way to meet other members of the freshman class. Dawn Murphy is the assistant vice chancellor for student development and says the event was broken up quickly and she hopes it will be an isolated incident.
We all are trying to navigate our new normal, but this is serious and we really will just have to educate our students and give them some reminders how serious we are about our requirements.
Murphy says this week students will get a reminder of campus guidelines like wearing masks, social distancing, and washing hands. Those, of course, are the 3 W's. The social media reaction to this has been mixed. Some people are sympathetic to the fact that students are just excited about the start of college, but others were frustrated by it. Now, I want to show you this tweet sent out just a few hours ago by the university. It says, "We get it. We know that College provides a time for social engagement and exploration, but our current situation has changed things a bit. Remember, the privilege of campus life for now means masks are required, and unfortunately, large gatherings just cannot happen.
All right, let's take a look outside. Weather-wise across the Triad, it's hot, it's muggy, and we're used to that. Things are pretty quiet across the area. There are some storms starting to pop up and some downpours, but they're not really affecting the Triad right now. Most of those are to our south and to our east. An isolated shower storm can't be totally ruled out as we go through the rest of the afternoon and evening hours, but I do think most of us will stay dry. Upper 80s across the area right now, 86 in Greensboro, 86 in Winston-Salem, but once you factor in the humidity, it's feeling like it's in the 90s, and boy, is it muggy. We just can't get rid of that humidity. Of course, as we head deeper into the summer and closer to fall, we'll start to get little breaks here and there from it, but dew points in the upper 60s and lower 70s. It's sticky outside. Tonight, upper 60s to near 70 degrees under mostly clear skies. It's still going to be muggy. Your Tuesday, it's going to be a lot like today was, starting out in the 70s. By lunchtime, we're in the mid-80s, upper 80s by the afternoon. It will be muggy, and of course, we will watch for some afternoon showers and storms. Again, very low chance of that, very isolated in nature. It's hot and muggy for the next 7 days. Typical summertime weather. I know, just more of the same.
Lebanon's prime minister is stepping down following a deadly explosion last week. In fact, his entire cabinet is also resigning. Now, the prime minister says he's reached the conclusion that corruption in Lebanon is, quote, bigger than the state. So he's taking a step back to stand beside his people fighting for change. Now, the anti-government protests have also been carrying on since the explosion, and those protesters blame leaders for the corruption and the explosion. I should say they blame them for the explosion, saying corruption and neglectful leadership led to this moment.
Everything is ruined. People don't have food to eat. They cannot drink. They cannot buy houses. Their houses are ruined. It's already ruined, so whatever. Yeah. They are super angry, and they have nothing to do anymore. And they always tell you, don't fight anyone who has nothing to lose, and they have nothing to lose.
Now, a judge with Lebanon's top court system questioned the heads of their security agencies today. Now, state security collected a report on the dangers of storing ammonium nitrate and how it came to be stored at the port unmonitored.
The explosion in Beirut happened nearly a week ago. That's Lebanon's capital. It killed 149 people and left 5,000 wounded. The massive blast stretched more than 700 feet and registered as a 3.3 magnitude earthquake. The busy city center now torn to pieces. Life is unrecognizable for people there. The explosion hits home for a Triad woman whose family is still near Beirut. She says a feeling of helplessness inspired her to take action, and you can get involved.
Sadness, anger, a lot of this is due to the corruptness that has happened in Lebanon and that has continued to happen. It was something that had been avoided. So it's just, it's very hard being here.
The explosion in Beirut Tuesday sent shockwaves across the world. That reached Ashley Nassar in Greensboro. Almost her entire family is in Lebanon. Thankfully, none of them were physically hurt.
They're about a mile away from the port, so it wasn't as intensive damage, but just structural damage. Otherwise, very lucky that everyone is physically okay.
Nassar watched the blast happen live on social media and immediately reached out to her aunts, uncles, and cousins. But knowing they're safe isn't enough. She wants to help.
Not being able to help, seeing everyone there affected by it, and just wanting to be able to do something, and knowing that we have the means and the ability to get items there.
Medical supplies, items to clean with, essentials that are running low in the country, Nassar is collecting and sending over. But even that isn't as easy as it sounds. The port is severely damaged.
We're still able to get things there by air. Luckily, the airport had pretty minimal damage, so flights are still being able to come in. Shipping flights are coming in.
Nassar says the Lebanese are resilient and are already doing what they can to recover from this catastrophe. But that doesn't mean we can't help.
The people are really getting the help they need, but getting their resources there, and especially the medical side, is going to help them. There's still rubble, and there are still people underneath the rubble.
Well, Nassar is collecting medical supplies, non-perishable food, items to clean up with, hygiene essentials, and money to pay for supplies and shipping. You can drop off locations at 2 Greensboro areas, 306 Grumman Road or the Pure Bar location at 1310 Westover Terrace. That's Suite 105. Both of those locations are in Greensboro. You can also donate online, and I've linked you to that information and the form on WFNYnews2.com. More of the 4 to 5 is coming up after this break. Stick with us.
Hey guys, mic check 1 2. Happy Monday. I do not like that all these schools are canceling the fall sports, but it looks like the ACC is not going to do that.
As each day passes, the start of college football is still a big question mark, but we do have a clearer picture when it comes to Elon University and their decision on whether to play fall sports. WFMY News 2's Luke Liddon is live with more on the program's decision to postpone the fall season. Luke?
Yeah, Taheshah, Elon's decision was yet another, just like many other conferences across the nation, deciding to put a hold on their fall sports season. But earlier today, their announcement was a little bit more than that, as they announced they are postponing all of their fall sports for the upcoming 2020 season. Now, just a few weeks back, Elon football was considering playing as an independent because their conference had canceled the season. But this new announcement, like I mentioned, includes all other fall sports. The school's director of athletics, Dave Blank, even saying safety was paramount in the decision, and they only believe that would be possible if the fall season was postponed, which led to that ultimate announcement. But other schools such as Wake Forest and Clemson in the ACC are pushing hard to play an upcoming season in 2020 with the motto #We want to play. Now, we will actually hear from the Deacs about exactly that coming up right here on WFMY News 2 at 5 o'clock as they push and hope that they will be able to play a season in the coming months.
All right, so our question of the day on my Facebook page, should college football happen? Let's take a look at what some of you had to say this morning. Jennifer Allen said yes. Anybody that doesn't feel comfortable doesn't have to. Let the ones play that want to play. How much more are they going to take away? I say stop this nonsense of shutting down the world. Let the kids back in, and sports and school should resume immediately. Ask the kids how they feel, and they will tell anyone they want to do it, because I can tell you they are hurting. Bobby Odom has a different take. He says, I think it should if the universal health and safety protocols are strictly followed and enforced. and players have the option to opt out. Greg Klein said follow strict guidelines and let the teams play. You can always pull back if things get worse. Trip Miller used the hashtag #IWantToWatch, and he says, let the boys play. Becky York says not until schools and colleges can be fully opened. And Ann Pearson said no sports. Finally, Grande Kelly says yes, open the schools and get the sports back. So it's interesting here because we've seen in the NBA, they've created this bubble, so to speak, to keep their players safe, and it seems to be working. No new cases reported in the last week. It would be more difficult to do that at a college setting, in a high school setting, because obviously you can't contain students. They still have to go to class. But I think a lot of people are coming to the realization that it's going to take something big to make college sports happen this fall, Christian.
Yeah, I've kind of raised this question in my mind, and if the kids are coming back to class, if they're going back into dorm rooms, they're going to be that close. I mean, there's got to be some way to figure out how to play football safely. I'm kind of stuck in the middle because I want it to happen. I want to see it happen. I want those students to be able to play. And I know a lot of those students have their futures riding on actually being able to play this season. So you kind of take that into mind too. But I kind of am stuck in the middle. I guess I'm not really swayed one way or the other because I never actually played high school sports or college sports. I was not athletic enough to do that. But I do understand where these students are coming from. So it's just it's going to be a toss up. I think you're going to have people upset and you're going to have people happy on both sides. I don't think there's a way to make people satisfied across the board.
Right, Taheshah, obviously college sports a big part of my time there, so I would be sad to see it go, but I understand both sides of this debate.
Yeah, I never played, officially for a college, but in high school, I mean, that's what we were all working towards, right? So you think of those high school students too, that are not able to play so far this season, especially here in the Triad. Now, I think if sports are going to happen, testing has to be at a greater capacity than it is now, because if we can get to the point where we are testing people, every other day and we're getting those results back within a few hours, I think that's the only way that we're going to be able to proceed and do sports, and then even just in general for people to get back to a sense of normalcy, being able to have access to a test and get the results quickly.
I think it's safe to say this is something that a lot of people are going to be watching. Of course, we will keep you updated. More of the 4 to 5 after this.
The father of Michael J. Brown, who is that 18-year-old man who was shot and killed in Ferguson, Missouri back in 2014, well, he attended a rally in the name of Breonna Taylor, an EMT who was shot and killed in her apartment in Kentucky by police. Now, 200 people gathered on Saturday near a mural depicting Taylor with the goal of holding police accountable for her death. Only one of 3 officers involved has been fired. No charges have been filed in this case. Now, Michael Brown's dad said experiences like his son's death or Breonna's can shake up someone's world.
When you go through something like that traumatic, it's hard to get balanced. Only thing you want is justice.
Taylor's family filed a lawsuit against the 3 officers, accusing them of wrongful death, excessive force, and negligence.
Well, Sunday marked 6 years since Michael Brown was shot and killed. Memorial ceremonies were held in his honor, and many say they still remember where they were and what they were doing on that day in 2014.
No justice, no peace. Millions of steps, hundreds of thousands of chants since August 9th, 2014. The day Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson.
I remember it. I remember the marches, the tanks coming out.
Chloe Fox was just 10 years old. As a soon-to-be junior at University City High School, she says they're still demanding change.
You have to fight for what you believe in.
Flowers marked the spot where Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson shot and killed Michael Brown 6 years ago.
Coming here every single year does not get easier.
While there are many still fighting for change, many things are different from that day. A new police chief in Ferguson.
6 years ago, this community was rocked and this nation was rocked.
Just days ago, activist Cori Bush won the Democratic primary for Congress.
This is where I started from, fighting for justice. We have to stand up for Black lives every single day.
One thing that hasn't changed, charges against Officer Darren Wilson. A week ago, prosecutor Wesley Bell said after a 5-month reinvestigation of the case, there is not enough evidence to charge the former officer with murder or manslaughter.
After an independent and in-depth review of the evidence, we cannot prove that he did.
For 15-year-old Michael Simmons, there are dozens of names they march for, from Breonna Taylor to George Floyd. But Michael Brown's death was the spark for him.
We definitely are in a better place with support-wise, and a lot more people are becoming educated. But I mean, we're still marching, we're still fighting for the same cause.
The 4 to 5 is live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. We'll be right back.
Did you know that you can connect with WFMY News 2 on YouTube? We only get so much time to bring you the news on TV each day, and it's why we're adding more and more videos to our YouTube page. You can find raw interviews, live news conferences, and the latest news from all around the country in just one spot. So all you have to do is go to YouTube, type in WFMY News 2, and this homepage will pop up on your screen. If you are on the homepage, you can scroll down and we have different sections for you, like popular upload videos, as well as specific coronavirus related videos, as well as our 4 to 5 news show, and 2 Wants to Know, plenty more for you to just scroll down and check out all of our stories right there. Now, if you're looking for specific videos, maybe a live stream that you missed, all you have to do is go to the videos tab, and there you'll find all different videos from live streams to live news conferences to raw video and maybe full interviews that you may have missed on TV, or maybe we didn't have time to show you the full extent of the video. So be sure to subscribe. All you have to do is go back to your home screen. You'll see this red button that says subscribe on it. You'll click it, and then you'll see a bell next to it. You want to hit that bell and turn the notifications on so that you are notified anytime that we upload a new video.
We'll take a look outside weather-wise. For the most part, we are quiet across the Triad. You can see some storms bubbling up, especially to our south and to our east today. But if we zoom in even a little bit closer, there are actually a couple small downpours moving through the Triad. One moving into Forsyth County, another one right near Archdale as well, slowly drifting to the east, and another one crossing downtown Greensboro. The history of these storms today has pretty much been short-lived downpours that move slightly east before they fizzle out, and these are doing nothing different than that. High pressure in control of our weather, keeping us hot, keeping us muggy, and there's really not going to be any major changes. There is going to be a cold front getting closer to us as we head towards the middle of the week, so that looks to increase our storm chance by at least a little bit, by 10 to 20%. So we have a 40 to 50% storm chance as we head towards the end of the week. It's still hot, upper 80s, close to 90, feeling like it's in the mid 90s. We'll take a look at your full 7-day forecast coming up on the 45.
Hi, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome back to your 4 to 5. I'm Maddie Gardner alongside Christian Morgan and Taheshah Moise this afternoon. Of course, this is an interactive news show where we like to connect with you. So join our live stream right now on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And as always, use our hashtag 4 to 5. Let's start off with our 4 to 5 roundup this afternoon. Capital One is facing an $80 million fine for a security breach. The U.S. Treasury Department fined the bank, saying the breach exposed the personal information of 106 million credit card users last year. 140,000 social security numbers were compromised as a result, and 80,000 bank account numbers. Dollar Tree is once again changing its mind on if people have to wear a face mask inside their stores. Dollar Tree and Family Dollar now require customers to wear a mask while they shop. The parent company has gone back and forth on this policy, enforcing it, then backtracking on the decision. But now the company says the requirement is to comply with CDC guidelines. Krispy Kreme is making back to school a little bit sweeter for teachers. All week long, educators can get a free original glazed donut and a regular size coffee for Educator Appreciation Week. And then tomorrow, Tuesday, Krispy Kreme is doing a buy one, get one deal. So if you buy a dozen donuts, you get another dozen free. Speaking of free, the Winston-Salem is serving meals to children throughout the week. Multiple recreation centers are giving away meals to kids from 5:30 to 7 p.m. This will happen every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You don't have to have an ID and you don't have to register. Parents also do not need to be present for kids to eat. This meal handout is part of a partnership with Second Harvest Food Bank of Northwest North Carolina.
President Trump signed a series of executive actions over the weekend after Congress failed to reach an agreement on federal unemployment benefits for a coronavirus relief package. In the meantime, lawmakers are reacting to the president's executive actions, saying he doesn't have that kind of power.
You can't beat the deal we made. We've gotten much of what we wanted, and they didn't get what they wanted.
But there wasn't actually a deal. President Trump gave up on negotiations with Democrats and is now taking unilateral actions.
President's executive orders, described in one word, could be paltry. In 3 words, unworkable, weak, and far too narrow.
Democrats and even some Republicans are accusing the president of making promises he constitutionally can't keep. Republican Senator Ben Sasse calls the president's executive actions unconstitutional slop.
And it was time to act.
A lot of the claims President Trump made at his New Jersey golf club this weekend simply don't add up. He says he's preventing evictions, but in reality his order directs federal agencies to consider whether halting evictions is necessary. The president says he's creating a new $400 weekly federal unemployment benefit, but that's far less than the $600 benefit Democrats want to extend. And 25% of it would have to be funded by states, which is unlikely given many are facing severe budget cuts.
Look, that would cost us about $500 million between now and the end of the year. I could take that money from testing. I don't think that's a great idea.
President Trump is already backtracking, saying the federal government may now fund the full cost for some states. He is also attempting to suspend the federal payroll tax until the end of the year for Americans making less than $100,000. But the taxes are only deferred and would eventually have to be paid back, unless, according to the president, he's reelected.
If I'm victorious on November 3rd, I plan to forgive these taxes and make permanent cuts to the payroll tax.
Now, the president does not have the power to get rid of payroll tax. That is actually a congressional power. But payroll taxes fund things like Social Security, and cutting that would endanger programs for seniors. For now, here's what workers need to know about that payroll tax deferment. Now, this will be an interest-free loan that will have to be paid back, but it does not directly impact anyone on unemployment. Now, the payroll tax starts September 1st through the end of the year, since that tax deferment would cut off funding for Medicare and Social Security benefits. But the president has not said how he'll make up those funds.
Well, taking a look at what's happening around your community, the Winston-Salem Dash baseball team handed out free masks today. The team partnered up with Hanes Brands to make cloth masks with the Dash logo. 1,000 masks were handed out. The vice president, Corey Bungo, says it's one way the team can stay connected to the community.
We want to be here as a great community member and support our community back. And the ballpark, the now Truist Stadium, is a place where people come out to get away from the real world and enjoy the atmosphere with their families, with their friends. And we can't bring them here right now, but we're going to try to bring the stadium to them as much as we can.
And state health officials say the statewide mask rule is helping slow the spread of coronavirus. Our numbers are starting to level out. Still, testing is available for anyone who needs it. This Wednesday in Guilford County, Mount Zion Baptist Church is hosting a mobile testing event. It's from 8 until noon on Alamance Church Road, and it is free to get tested. In Winston-Salem, don't miss testing at Shiloh Baptist Church. It's this Wednesday and Saturday. Wednesday's testing is happening from 4 until 7, and then on Saturday it's from 10 until 2. This event is also free.
A Georgia high school closed today and will be closed tomorrow for deep cleaning after 9 students and staff tested positive for coronavirus. Now, you may have seen the photos of this high school going viral on social media that showed students very close together in the hallways. Now, a high school has officially reopened, I should say, for in-person learning back on August 3rd. School leaders are informing parents if they'll be back in class Wednesday morning. In the meantime, those 2 students who shared photos on Facebook were suspended, but that suspension was reversed after a nationwide upset. Students at this Georgia high school are not required to wear face masks or sit away from each other in desks. Now, that's according to one student.
New Zealand has gone 100 days without a new coronavirus case from community transmission. The country reported only a few new cases from travelers, according to their Ministry of Health. Now, New Zealand closed their borders to nearly all travelers with only a few exceptions, and they declared a state of emergency and went on lockdown on March 25th. The country's prime minister says while New Zealand has won the battle, they still have to be cautious.
It's also worth keeping in mind that I don't believe there is any other country that has had COVID come into our position and sustained it away from our borders for that period of time. That actually is a message that it is a very difficult thing to manage, and we need to be vigilant.
The country is under alert level 1, so that allows schools and workplaces to open. There are currently no restrictions on gatherings or domestic travel, but it's still recommended that people keep track of where they're traveling to and from. So it's interesting, like the Prime Minister said, this is really the first case of a country having COVID come in and then being able to stop cases from spreading within the community. And it seems like that early lockdown and keeping the borders closed may have been what did it, Taheshah.
Yeah, I think that really could have been the key, Maddie, in this situation. And then you also have to factor in, population size of a country like New Zealand. I would imagine it would be just a little bit easier for New Zealand versus the United States, where we have 50 states that are each doing their own thing instead of one kind of central ruling coming down from the top. But I'm happy to hear that for them. Let's see if we can get another country to do the same.
Right. A little bit of hope, maybe, that this country was able to overcome it, Christian.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, they're clearly doing and have done something right in New Zealand. Taheshah makes a great point that with a smaller population, it is probably a little easier to contain and get control of. But if they can do it, surely the greatest country in the world, surely the United States, we can get this and get this done. But like you said, Maddie, it is a glimmer of hope that there are better things to come, especially as we go down the road. And we are starting to see things slowly start to improve. So hopefully that will continue.
All right, let's take
a look at your triad weather. Things are pretty quiet across the area right now on the radar, but if we zoom in a little bit closer, you see we do have some slow-moving downpours in the triad. One just to the southwest of Winston-Salem, another one crossing over downtown Greensboro, and another one starting to fizzle out near Archdale. Kind of the general movement of these storms today has been form into a slow-moving downpour and slowly drift to the east before they fizzle out. Downpours fizzle out. I do think most of us will stay dry as we go throughout the rest of the evening and the overnight hours as well. High pressure and control of our weather. We're staying hot. We're staying muggy. That's not really going to change at all. But as we get to the middle of the week, there is going to be a cold front that gets closer to us. That will make our rain chances go up a little bit. And with our rain chances higher, some more clouds, our temperatures will drop by a degree or two. Upper 80s right now, feeling like it's in the mid 90s once you factor in the humidity and that heat, that humidity, not really going anywhere for the next 7 days. At least for the next 7 to 14 days, it looks like we're going to be hot and muggy and occasionally very wet with some afternoon storm chances.
On the standard homeowners form, earthquake or earth movement and flood are both two of the most common exclusions. You don't have this coverage in any form or fashion. If you want this coverage, you got to buy it back.
Alrighty, so if this homeowner right here didn't have earthquake insurance, then all of this damage is not covered by their homeowner's insurance.
Yeah, you really hate to hear that, especially looking at the photos that we've seen of this damage, Tanya. But how many people actually have earthquake coverage?
Yeah, not many. Christopher Cook of Alliance Insurance Services says 2 of his 4,000 clients actually have it.
1, 2.
1, 2.
Wow. And is it expensive?
Actually, you know, I didn't really think it was expensive. That wasn't the issue. I think it's just that most people don't think, hey, what are the chances of this happening? Right. So at 5 o'clock, I'm going to be talking to you about how you get earthquake insurance and how much it could possibly cost you. But don't miss this. This is one of the biggest misconceptions about any kind of homeowner's policy.
Something that's common that we find that people reach out to us about are maintenance items. If your air conditioning is 20 years old and it fails, it was built to last 20 years. When it fails, that's a mechanical or a maintenance deal. You got to buy a new air conditioning system. That's part of homeownership. It stinks, but your insurance company doesn't cover mechanical failure of systems in your home.
All right, and today we're answering your questions about COVID. So two health experts at Cone Health are going to be here. You can text your question 336-379-5775. Don't wonder about something, ask an expert. We're helping you do that at 5:30.
The first weekend of outdoor street dining in downtown Greensboro was a success. The city of Greensboro partnered with Downtown Greensboro Incorporated for the first Open Streets weekend. Now, the streets were shut down downtown so that restaurants could expand into outdoor seating. Retail shops were also able to put merchandise out as well. Now, the goal is to help businesses struggling from the shutdown at the start of the pandemic as much as possible. Downtown Greensboro Incorporated President Zach Matheny says open streets could last through phase 2.
You know, one of the things we saw was, people wanting to get out. They were being very respectful with social distancing, with wearing their mask. The restaurateurs, the tables that were outside were properly socially distanced at 6 feet. And we saw most of the tables full.
If you missed this weekend's event or went and enjoyed it yourself and want to go again, Open Streets is happening every Friday and Saturday this month.
Well, you don't need me to tell you that so many things have been canceled because of this pandemic, but that's why many families are having to get creative with their summer vacations. And listen to this, more families are using RVs to escape. Mid-range motorhome sales are up 90%. RVs offer families a chance to get away from home, but socially distanced from others. And if you're not a camper, it also works for you. These newest models can have flat screen TVs, washers and dryers, range ovens, even fireplaces. Your biggest downfall is someone is going to have to do the driving, hopefully not me. This is glamping in some of these RVs, right, folks?
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because this past week I was road tripping in Colorado with my fiance, and one of the things that we decided was we want to do this and we want to do it over and over again. So we actually talked about getting a camper and looked into some costs to get some low-grade campers comparatively to the big ones so that we can just see, the open air and not have to deal with hotels.
Yeah, it's certainly something that's going to be more prevalent now that we've experienced this pandemic. I regret my dad always wanted to do this and drive across country with my family. My mom and my sister and I were all opposed, but now I regret it. Christian, you have an RV? What you think?
It sounds like a fun idea. I love road trips, but if I'm on a road trip, I want to go there and I want to be able to relax. I don't want to have to carry something with me and add in all the extra work of setting it up. But I do understand the safety and the health precautions that people are taking. And it's kind of getting people, out of their homes and maybe doing something or exploring something they've never even thought of before. So I guess that maybe kind of is a good way to look at everything that's going on right now.
Yeah, that script mentioned the downside is someone has to drive. Also, the downside may be just being with your family in an RV the entire time. I don't know. Maybe that's a problem for you. Something to think about. Join our conversation. Use the hashtag 4 to 5. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll be right back.
Hi, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado.
Sounds good. I will do that. Raising a child, of course, brings many unexpected moments, but you add a pandemic on top of that and life is nothing but unexpected, right? Well, our sister station in Knoxville, Tennessee spoke with new moms who want to share some advice to mothers raising children during this pandemic.
Meet Lily. Her mom, Whitney, gave birth back in January, but little Lily would start her life off in the midst of a global pandemic.
I've struggled with postpartum anxiety and depression.
An experience her mom says the pandemic doesn't make any easier.
Worry about your baby during this time too.
A couple months later in April, Tatum was born. Tatum is now 3 months old and full of life.
She is just a talkative, smiley little thing.
But like Whitney, Kayla says being a new mom during a pandemic hasn't been the easiest thing.
There's just heavy stuff all around the world right now.
However, this smile makes it all worth it.
A light in the world.
Months later in June came Iris.
And this is Iris.
Her mom, Mariah, says the beginning of their journey had some tough moments too.
She actually was born with fluid in her lungs, so we had to go to the NICU.
But months later, they are still pushing forward and trying not to let the weight of the world knock them down.
I try not to let it define her and define us.
Whitney, Kayla, and Mariah believe other parents out there know how they are feeling. And if they could offer any glimmer of hope to keep them going, they'd say this.
If you've got family, reach out to them.
Tackling each obstacle one at a time.
Reach out for help, that you're not alone.
All right, it's hot, it's muggy, and, well, for the most part, it's dry across the tri. There are a couple little downpours that we're tracking on radar. If we zoom in a little closer, you can see one just kind of to the southeast of downtown Winston-Salem. One still sitting over downtown Greensboro, but the one near Archdale has started to fizzle out. And that's kind of been the story today with any downpours or storms that have popped up. They've been short-lived, and they have moved just ever so slightly to the east before they have started to fizzle out. I don't think we'll see much in the way of showers or storms tonight. For your Tuesday, it's going to be a day much like today. Most of us stay dry, but there could be some showers or storms isolated in nature in the afternoon and early evening hours. Tonight, mostly clear skies will drop down into the upper 60s to near 70 degrees. Your Tuesday, again, a lot like today. I think we'll approach 90 degrees again with a mix of sun and clouds. After almost a week of staying quiet in the tropics, there is this one area that the National Hurricane Center is watching for possible development over the next 5 days. I don't think we need to worry, though, because in the next few days, it's also going to run into an environment that's very unfavorable for its continued development. It could briefly become a tropical depression, though, over the next few days, but right now, it's nothing for us to worry about. Just letting you know that we're keeping an eye on things as we go deeper through the summer and closer to the peak of hurricane season, which usually comes up in the middle of September. Your 7-day forecast: heat, humidity, it's hanging tough, not really going anywhere. Our storm chances start to go up a bit, though, as we get into your Wednesday, Thursday, and as we head into the weekend.
Coming up at 5, the U.S. Geological Survey reported 5 aftershocks since yesterday's 5.1 magnitude earthquake shook much of our state. The latest on these tremors and whether we can expect more. It's next. Hi, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado.
Hello, mic check. Do my words match my lips now? Or do I need to restart again? Hello, mic check. Perfect.
It's time for my 2 cents. So I woke up yesterday to a text message from a friend who lives across the street, and it said, "We just had an earthquake, I'm pretty sure. My whole bed shook and my dresser mirror. Reagan felt it too." I, completely unaware and realizing whatever happened, I slept through it, immediately went to Twitter. My feed was flooded with, "Did you feel it? I felt it. Look at this damage." Honestly, guys, I was bummed out that I wasn't a part of this. I mean, who sleeps through an earthquake? Apparently, I do. Even though I didn't feel the shaking, I did feel instantly like I was a part of this. I saw photos and videos of the quake and its aftermath online. I started reading about what people went through. I talked to more friends and family who felt it, and it was no doubt scary for those close to the epicenter. This could have been something serious. Earthquakes, as we know, are inherently dangerous. But just for a moment yesterday morning, we were all connected by it. Nobody was arguing about the earthquake. There were no sides to this thing. There was nothing to debate. It was a shared experience that actually brought people together. You know, even though this wasn't positive, I think it created something positive. Community, conversation, collective experience. But that's just my 2 cents. That's your 4 to 5. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts now.
Damage lingers and more videos being shared after North Carolina's most powerful earthquake in more than 100 years. Check out these huge trucks moving like they're nothing as the earthquake hit near Sparta.
And check out the VFW in Sparta. It had lots of broken dishes in the kitchen, even some cracks in the foundation. And tonight the mayor there tells us they are still trying to figure out the extent of the damage.
Now, in total, 3 to 4 homes in Sparta may be a total loss right now. WFMY News 2's Jess Winters is in Sparta seeing the damage firsthand.
Sparta was the epicenter of this earthquake, and at the heart of Sparta, this VFW that's now in shambles, moving the mayor to tears.
That's very emotional for us because of us veterans that have served our country. We try to do that.
Sparta Mayor Wes Brinegar is a veteran himself.
I served in the United States Marine Corps for 4 years.
So to see pictures of heroes on the ground among shattered glass is harder than seeing the cracks to the foundation, the holes in the ceiling, the dishes in thousands of pieces.
We've got one crack in a wall up here that's probably close to an inch wide. You can see daylight from inside where the walls have just separated in a corner. So,
yeah, the VFW is probably going to be a total loss. I don't see a whole lot of repair work down there. The foundations are all cracked and the ceilings is all caved in.
The mayor shedding tears not just for the bad, but for the good.
To my county, what an awesome bunch. You know, 11,000 people strong.
I could tell you're getting emotional.
Yeah, it's very emotional. You know, we're all family. Everybody knows everybody here. So just to see what is going on, and when people come by and for